Hey everybody, how's it going? Dan Shinder here on Drum Talk TV, May 16th. If you're watching us live, whether you're watching us live or on the archive, let us know where you're watching from and feel free to send in questions for my guest, Marco Minnemann, who's coming to us from home in SoCal, and I am up in the mountains east of Phoenix. And Marco, welcome. I'm excited to talk about this new album.
Good to see you and hear you again. So yes, absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So I got a chance to preview. I want to make sure it's not playing in the background. It's not, because we're not supposed to leak it yet. I got a chance to preview the album, and I'm really excited about it. I have so many questions. It's the Aristocrats with, am I pronouncing it correctly? Is it Primuz Chamber Orchestra? Primuz Chamber Orchestra, which is awesome. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know this, but Marco also plays third bassoon as well as drums.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the major bassoon player. And I'm just kidding. Yeah, could be something, huh?
This is really exciting. First of all, when does the album come out? And the album cover is right there on the player, folks.
Yeah, the album is coming out on June 3rd.
So right around the corner.
Right around the corner. And so we're looking very much forward to it. And we have a tour lined up pretty much soon after. So we're going to, hope to see a lot of fans out there. Yeah.
Are you coming to the Phoenix area this time around? Do you know?
I think we will. I have to check the touring schedule, but you can look that up on our websites, and I'm sure we will be surprisingly close.
Awesome. In fact, why don't you go ahead and give out the website, and Stephen will put it in the comments and pin it to the top so people can check all that out.
Yeah, www.aristocrats and then -band.com.
Perfect. And folks, when I look over here, I'm not watching the Flintstones like when Carmine Appice is on the show. I'm actually checking your comments to see if you have questions.
I like that.
So first, I want to ask, what was the deal with how this unfolded? Was it written knowing you were going to have orchestra, and was it written with that consideration? Did that come later? Hey, let's add orchestra to this. Did you play and record it all live, the rhythm tracks or anything with the orchestra? How did that all unfold, Marco?
Actually, the way it happened, it was kind of surprisingly coming from a completely different angle. So we heard, I think it was our manager, Riccardo Capelli, he's from Italy, and he sent us a link, a YouTube link, with an orchestra rendition of one of our songs, one of Guthrie's songs, in fact, Culture Clash. And those guys are fans of our band, and they decided to do an orchestral version of it. And so we heard what they did, and it sounded absolutely incredible. It was amazing. And we contacted them to say thank you. And we had pretty much, a really good line to those guys. And we were kind of picking their brains on how they arranged it and what they thought of it. And long story short, we were kind of making them an offer and say, like, how about we do an entire album together, And we gave them our original tracks from the songs we recorded to then kind of tailor orchestra around it and kind of, work with those tracks. That's how it really came together. And it was also kind of, pretty much, and it was kind of a pandemic experiment a little bit also, right? Wasn't it? Because by that time, nobody was touring.
Right.
And so that kind of, gave us a perfect moment to be musical in a completely different environment that we wouldn't have gone otherwise.
So are you touring with the orchestra?
There would be something. No, we want to make money and not lose money. So
I know that's quite an endeavor. Yeah,
that would be something, huh? I would like it though. I mean, that would be fantastic. I guess if we would do like some selected, venues and events for that, then that would definitely be up for that.
That's awesome.
But so far that is not planned. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think the last thing I saw like that, and my son Stephen, our associate producer, will correct me if I have the date wrong, because he's a walking lexicon when it comes to the band. Yes, I think it was 2005 when Yes toured Symphonic Yes with the orchestra, just before Magnification came out. I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl with a full orchestra. That was an amazing experience. But back in the day, you and I being fans of a lot of the same bands, if we recall what ELP did with Works and touring with a full orchestra and everything like that, it's quite an expense and quite an endeavor. And you got to pay everybody, scale and lunch and taking the elevator and everything else,
Absolutely. That is pretty much, that's quite a task to take on for sure.
But it would be neat to see you folks with some sort of complementary orchestral
Yeah.
ensemble along with what you're doing. That would really be cool. Almost like what Rush did, right?
Yes. Oh, true. They did. That's right. On their Clockwork
Yeah,
Angel
Clockwork
tour,
Angels
right?
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It's again, it would be quite expensive to do so, and also like the way of traveling with buses and whatnot, and things. I think it might be quite an adventure, But I'm up for any ideas, if something comes up like that, or we have like a great maybe in the bigger cities where you can like get like local orchestras or players
Yeah.
to join in, would be actually quite interested.
That
Yeah.
or just teach the tech crew how to play
Hey,
cello,
there you go.
viola, right?
Everybody gonna become like players. The traveling orchestra, the operation. That's right, the Aristocrats operation. I love that.
Now, if you don't mind, may I read off the titles of the tracks?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know what it's okay to leak out yet, but here's some. I love the titles, and I'd love to get your feedback on maybe a couple of your favorites. I know how hard it is to pick favorites, but maybe you could pick two that you'd like to sort of give us a
Yeah.
description or preview of. So we've got Culture Clash,
Mm-hmm.
Stupid 7, not
Yeah.
to be confused with Stupid 3, 9, or 12. Then
There
we've
you
got the Ballad of Bonnie and ... the ellipses there. Dance of the Aristocrats.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the clog video on that one. Through the Flower, All Said and Done, Jack's Back, Oh No, and Last Orders. What would be a
Right.
couple tracks that you're super, super fond of? Why and what can we expect? I've heard it,
Well,
but pretend,
yeah. Well, to pick two tracks that just come to mind right now would be definitely Stupid Seven and then Last Orders, because they are like completely the opposite. So Stupid Seven is a very almost like rock punk environment. It just has a very fast and aggressive pace and a lot of fast staccato notes and odd meters. And so since an orchestra, when you have woodwinds or like strings or something, the airwaves kind of react like a little slower. You would have to play like a little faster to kind of catch up with the pace of a rock band.
right.
And so I guess that needs to be mentioned, because there's like a lot of delicate moments in that song, that need to be absolutely precise. So I think it's fantastic, what the orchestra did and how it was arranged. And then there's like, the song Last Orders, which has like a lot of space. There's like a lot of beauty that can be kind of, brought into the environment, and long notes, where the orchestra can really stretch out and, shine and kind of, give a cinematic touch to it. And I guess so that's why you would name these songs right now off the bat, to have like the opposites that hopefully attract. Oh, I like the way I said that.
I do too. Who did the orchestral arranging, Marco?
Wojtek is his name, and he is like, from obviously he's from Poland, from the Primuz chamber orchestra. And he's great. What's his full name actually? What I have to look this up myself now here, but he did an amazing job, I gotta say, like everything he did was just unbelievable.
How much latitude did he have? Did you folks preview the written arrangements? Did you preview some sort of run through tracks, or was it just like, just make it happen because we love what you did with Culture Clash so much? How did that process work?
Well, he really kind of. You mean how he basically arranged?
Yeah, and what say you guys had, or if you were just
no.
off of it,
No, we
and said
had
just do your
definitely.
thing.
It is our music, so obviously
Yeah.
the last say is us. We tried our best to really incorporate all parties, so that everybody feels comfortable.
Great.
And so I really have to say that the arrangements were done beautifully, and also without any interference from us, really. Like we really embraced, whatever he did, and it was beautifully arranged. Sometimes we would maybe say like, okay, maybe a little less over here, or fill that space over there. And I guess, really the task was to then bring it together in a mix that sounded cohesive. So we have a great engineer like Forrester Savell. He's a fantastic studio engineer, and he mixed already our last Aristocrats album, and it sounded amazing. And so he did a great job. And that was like, the only thing, where it kind of was like a little bit of a fall and back, finding the right balance so that everybody involved was really happy.
That's great. I want to check comments and see who's watching. Give some shout outs, and maybe people also have questions for you. Aha. I knew Stephen would correct me. It was 2001 that Yes toured with the orchestra. Wow,
there you go.
That long. That's crazy. Someone could have had a kid that year, and that kid would be of U.S. California at least drinking age now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Jeez. Garo, how are you? Garo's an amazing composer and drummer. He says, amazing legendary guest and amazing host. I don't know what show he's watching, but thanks for tuning in.
Oh,
just kidding.
I like that. Hello, and thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
There are some more. There we go. Okay. The cover, folks, as you see, is on the player. And it's like an old-fashioned Victrola record player, which I happen to have one of, actually, in 1924. Wow. So cool. Yeah, with records, about 30 records. Ours is a 1926. The one that's on the cover, instead of the doggy, the classic Victrola logo doggy, there's a piggy. I have to ask, is that related to the squeak piggy in that warm-up video we've posted of you over and over in the hotel room?
It is because it became kind of our those are our travel companions, right? It was like the chicken and the pig, that joined us on the road. We found them somewhere. The chicken we found in Turkey, I kind of picked it up over there, and then the pig joined us at an Autogrill in Italy.
Hilarious.
I found the chicken, Guthrie found the pig, and we brought it actually on the tour in the tour van, and then on stage. And since then, they became our band members,
like mascots almost.
Mascots a little bit, and so we decided, since we already kind of have them embraced on album covers and anywhere else, to nonetheless, bring them actually into the orchestral environment as well, and thought it was really kind of cool because we were looking for a classic, like a logo that kind of fits into the orchestral environment / rock band, and especially like the EMI dog that was used on many of the classical albums.
Right.
Looking into the gramophone, I thought like it might be really, really cool to have the pig do that. And Absolutely. So it would be only fair.
That's hilarious. For those who don't know, I'm going to play that video real quick of you warming up with a small pad and a squeak piggy on the bed in a hotel room. Check this out, folks. And then we're going to talk a little drumming and get back to the album.
Fantastic.
Go for it.
So let's talk about drumming and sticking. How helpful is it to warm up, not just on a pad where you have all that rebound, but on the actual bed mattress where there's no rebound? It's all in your finger work, right? And of course, the rubber piggy.
Yeah. Well, to me, really, the thing is like warming up or playing, drums in general. It doesn't really have to have like a bouncy surface, I kind of, always make sure, that I can air drum like a double stroke roll or, paradiddles. It's all really in my hands. Obviously, when you do like a closed roll, like a tight snare drum head works well, or like, a rubber pad, it's always kind of fun to play, but whatever I rehearse or like in whatever musical environment I play or something, it really doesn't matter. Pillows are completely fine. I sometimes even travel without actually a practice pad, just like, bouncing off, beds or whatnot, that's totally fine with me.
Yeah.
So I think the importance of having like, a solid rubber mat or drum head is not really relevant in my case,
That's
strange
great.
enough. Yeah.
And for those who are not familiar with the music of the Aristocrats, well, before I play a little bit of that video, what's funny is I moved this video over into this folder, and I can't remember the name of this song. And it's like my favorite song of yours, but you'll hear it when I play it, and you'll set me straight. But I love that you guys are doing what bands are supposed to do. You're getting better with every album, which is great. You want to progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the first, if you look at the first album, kind of sucked. And then the next one got a little bit, no, I'm kidding. But it's cool to see the progression and you guys working more and more together. Let's play a little bit of this live performance that could not have a wider range of dynamics. Check this out, folks.
Yeah.
All right, that's a pretty thick tease, folks. That's all you get. Which song is that?
That was a song called Blues Fuckers.
That's right. How could I forget that name? I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How important is it for drummers, no matter what style of music they play? And I guess this applies to any instrument, but I think that drummers might struggle with this the most, those who are not open enough, to really understand dynamics and get good at such a wide range of dynamics, even if you play metal.
Yeah, well, I think dynamics are the most important thing really in music. Otherwise, it sounds like lawnmower on and lawnmower off, right? So,
I had a marriage like that, but that's another.
I like that, right? But I think especially in an environment where a lot of notes and styles are being played, I guess it's like really good to find, or important to find a pace, because otherwise it just becomes ear fatiguing. And it's also fun more as a musician, to have like really quiet passages and then kind of, bring out the goods, whenever needed,
Right.
And I guess with the Aristocrats, especially in the trio format, we can do this nicely because we kind of are set up, very, very close to each other. Basically we have like this nice circle almost that we form, a triangle, almost. And it works fairly well, so we are a very disciplined band after all.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. There's a great question here from Garo. He says, one question about independence playing. Did you, Marco, did you practice that, or did you find out that you have that naturally? And since you have a very advanced technique of playing, how did you decide what style you were going to play?
Well, first of all, the independence question, I guess, it really derived probably from me playing organ, like with like, two manuals, like, chord end over here, sometimes melody, and then mainly melody and sometimes chords over there, and then a foot bass. So I would kind of, play with feet, and insert bass lines. And I kind of brought that concept to the drum set.
Which is
And
also a
that's how I
very
kind of started.
ambidextrous instrument, just like the organ.
Yeah, and I thought like, man, why not have two hi-hats? Why not have like multiple pedals and then kind of, playing with it, with the melodies and then putting other melodies on top. And that's how I kind of got into this environment. But I guess, I probably, hopefully had a little bit of talent, because I remember like my very first teachers, they were saying, oh, wow, he can do these things pretty much, instantly, and kind of, even add stuff, to it. So I don't know, but for me, it feels natural, and it was like learning a language. I can't even tell you right now where the origin came or when I really started it, because I was doing this at a very young age.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like it was learning a language and now operating with it, I guess, So, but yeah, obviously, if you throw at me an incredibly crazy exercise and tell me, okay, can you play like 13/16 with your feet with like a paradiddle combination, and then some double strokes, and then how about you play like a 5-stroke roll on top of it? Then I would also sit there and go like, no, thank you. I have to, So it's not like that it falls from the sky always, Like
Right.
I rehearse certain patterns, So yeah. It's
That's
yeah.
great. And thank you. And then the second part of the question, how did you fall into the style? I mean, not that you're in a box, you're known for playing different styles, but how did you fall into what people know you most for? Is it simply because of the affinity you have for the kind of music you like?
I don't know. I mean, I play many productions, many styles, but I have, I think, a sound that I like to deliver. And that is pretty much, what I hear inside of my head. I like to have my own sound.
Right.
And find basically a drum set that I can play all styles with.
Right.
And that's just like a matter of taste, really. And so for me, it was like, singing toms is the mid-range. So starting with like 10, 12 inch, then I have the 8 inch on that side, strangely enough, for effects reasons. And then 16 and 18, for like the low end, there's floor toms. Then I have like a gong drum, which is on the left side. And kick drum, I play a fairly large sizes there. So it's like basically a 24-inch kick drum, and then like a 14 snare drum wood this time, like a little deeper shell, like 14 by 7 almost, I think, 14 by 6.5, I guess. And then high end is obviously like the cymbals, but I play fairly large cymbals and kind of soft sounding, like warm sounding cymbals. And the right cymbal that is like, more like defined, like let's say like a K dry or something like that, where I can do like every note is audible. So these are kind of, basically the sizes I really like to use and I feel comfortable with. And that's the sound I would like to hear in my head and then let it out into the drum set. And this is, so I guess, that really defines then also a style, like the sound kind of goes hand in hand with the style,
Absolutely.
And dear friends of mine have that. For example, Simon Phillips, he always comes with the same drum set. Mostly, not always, but mostly, and you kind of dial in your own sound. You find your own sound, and this is it. That's
Right.
it defines you then,
Yeah, your setup hasn't really changed much over the years, has it? Yeah.
No, not really. And there's no reason why it should be. I mean, my sound on and off changes a little bit. I find like templates or different snare drums that I sometimes exchange, like metal snare or wooden snare, or like maybe using a 22 kick drum here and there, and then a 24-inch again. So, these things vary, but the set itself is like it's like an instrument itself, right? I feel comfortable. And as long as I can play anything that I hear inside of my head, or people are happy with what I provide for studio productions or live gigs, then there's no reason to really change it, right?
Right.
On and off, I would come with a different setup with the Aristocrats, where I kind of, just leave the gong drum out, or play like with 4 toms instead of 5, or like leave some cymbals out, or so these things, they do change, but the sound itself and the way I tune and I perceive the instrument is kind of the same, like that's right?
Great. It always gets me, Marco, when drummers criticize other drummers or ask the same question about a setup that has more than 3 pedals, because maybe they have a pedal on a cowbell, a pedal on a wood block, pedal on a different hi-hat. And they say, how do you play that? Is it an octopus? but yet they're
Yeah.
playing more drums than they have the amount of hands. So why
Yeah.
is that even a topic? I just don't understand that.
I don't know that either. See, the thing is, like for me with pedals is, I remember like on one of the DVDs that I did, I was experimenting with a lot of things. I had like, a small snare drum that I wanted to try to play with the foot, and I did, and like a bunch of little hi-hats and bigger hi-hats. And at some point, it's kind of learning by doing a little bit. Some stuff I kind of kept and some stuff I completely got rid of.
Yeah.
Like because I kind of listened back and I thought like, I don't actually really like how that thing sounds. It's kind of fun to hear it, in a certain environment. But I think it's really, really cool. I still kept like, the multiple hi-hats, so I have like one remote hi-hat on the right side, one on the left side of kit view.
Do they differ in size or cymbals?
Actually, they're meanwhile both 14 inches, but sometimes 13, one of them. They definitely have different sounds, But yeah, and I guess, that is the sound that kind of makes me happy. And I think it's also not necessary, but like especially at drum clinics or shows, where I kind of have a drum solo or something cool to present.
Yeah.
Is it really needed for like, certain rock music? No, not really,
Right.
but I like to have it as an optional, kind of device.
Sure. And it's a fun, great exercise in dexterity.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's go back and see who else. Oh yeah, Garozen. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Garoskopje. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Couldn't remember where he was from. Here's a question from Christopher Navas. Hey, Christopher. Probably the only other person here in Globe, Arizona, watching the show because there's 7,200 people here, and I kind of hide out.
Yeah.
So Christopher, hey
cool.
Christopher, thanks. He says, "Oh, will McStein Minnemann tour at some point?
Yes.
Really? When?
Well, we already played a few shows on the Cruise to the Edge, which were really,
That's
really.
right. You just did that.
Yeah, we just did that, and the band I think sounds incredible. We have Nick DeVigilio as a utility guy playing like guitar, keyboards, and sometimes drums as well. And we have Mohini Day on bass, who's a fantastic bass player. And all of us sing as well. No, except for me, I mean, I sing on my albums, but I don't sing live really. Right. And then obviously Randy, who plays guitar and sings, and I do drums and stuff. Right. And other instruments here and there. And the band sounds incredible, really, I gotta say. And we were really, happy to kind of, present this chemistry we have like to an audience for the first time, and people really loved it. And that made us feel very humbled and also kind of dedicated to bring this further on the road, this experiment, not this band, it's not an experiment. It forms into a band. So we play our next show, in fact, on the 22nd of May. So coming up very soon.
Yeah.
At an open air festival, a rock festival in Banning, of all places, which is close to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be there. And then I'm going to be on the road with Aristocrats. Then Randy will be on the road with Porcupine Tree. And then after that, our third album is already out because we already kind of are about to finish it. So by that time, we hopefully have the album released, the third album. And then we're going to tour. So I think, probably around the end of the year, you can see us forming a tour.
That's great. Thanks for the question, Christopher. And
yeah, very much.
Yeah, that's really good news. On the Cruise to the Edge, there's a Drum Talk TV fan and a Yes Shift fan. My son Steve and I do a vlog and a podcast called Yes Shift. It's all about the band Yes and the periphery of that big extended family. One of our fans, Rob Heckman, was on the Cruise to the Edge tour. Did he happen to catch up with you and get a quick clip? Do you remember?
Man, you know what? Honestly, I don't remember that. The Cruise to the Edge was a fantastic event, and it always is. It's always fun.
He had brown hair, a beard. Just kidding.
I like that. You have no idea how many people I talked to and took pictures or videos with, which is better than the other way around. Obviously, it's better than people care. It's better when people care. And no, but I don't remember right now.
That's okay. We're waiting to hear from him. He had to tend to his mom as soon as he got back. Now, I've always wondered this: if the Cruise to the Edge indeed goes to the Cruise to the Edge, what's there? Does it look like the inside of the Close to the Edge album cover and there's a bunch of mist at the end of a what? Like, what do you see when you get to the edge?
When you get to the edge of the world, right?
Yeah.
Where you have to kind of be careful not to fall down, first of all, falling off the edge of the world or hit a wall. Like what was the one, the movie with what's it called? The movie with Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah.
Truman Show,
Truman.
right?
That's hilarious.
The edge of the world, all of a sudden, boom,
Boing.
that's it.
Funny.
Oh, it's fantastic. Those cruises are great, Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make one of those for sure.
Yeah.
Terry Henry asks, Terry, tell us where you're watching from. He asks, what's your favorite China symbol to use?
Good question. They all sound different, but usually when I kind of have to stack order something from the road, I'll use around like about like 19-inch K Zildjian, just a regular one like
Nice.
that. So they sound actually pretty decent.
Cool.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Can't lose with that K series.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is a neat question, also from Garo. He says, did you have to play intense concerts on tour without sleeping? He says, having in mind that your music is so demanding, so what's your advice when one can't have enough sleep, but you have to play a concert?
Oh,
I think part of the advice is get freaking sleep, but
first of all, yeah, exactly, sleep. So I really kind of try to get enough sleep always, and but fair assessment there. There are like sometimes tours. I remember like doing when you do like the Latin Americas, and you have to sometimes catch really early flights, and then hardly have time really to prepare and kind of go to a sound check. Yeah, there's not much advice. Try to get naps in, go easy on the alcohol and, drink fruit juices, eat fruits, balanced food. And, get sleep, it's nothing. That's the best thing you can ever do, So I don't have really, I try to make sure to always get like a balanced environment, playing wise and not take on too many things on the same time, kind of have always like a plate with things that you can eat,
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's great. What was the process like when you and the guys started out making this new album? Did you consciously sit down and say, okay, what can we do that's a little different from what we've done before? Or what can we do to maintain our signature sound, but do some... Is there any discussion like that? Or you all just come to the table with some ideas and it all just unfolds?
You're talking about Aristocrats or Mike Steiner?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the new Aristocrats album.
Yeah, with the new Aristocrats album, well, new is interesting because it's basically the orchestral renditions, isn't it? So what we did there was just, it was very surprising, on how it all came together and was arranged, So we let like basically the orchestra and the arranger have like absolute like, free hand and kind of bring ideas in. And that was very refreshing. And then kind of, basically adjust and see how well it blends in. But consciously thinking about that, we did like absolutely something different, basically literally kind of almost like a 180 degree shift, because we appear as a kind of small trio unit, where we are as purist as possible, with those three instruments. And then having like, all of a sudden exactly the opposite with like shitloads of musicians all of a sudden, including themselves, on board, and kind of try to see how those songs would come together. That was like really something. It sounded very cinematic, or sounds very cinematic, as you can tell, and it was just a great adventure to kind of tap into like areas that we ourselves wouldn't have thought we would kind of find ourselves in.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of a pandemic experiment.
Yeah. Did you do any recording in person together, or was it all done remotely?
No, since nobody could travel by that time.
Right.
The orchestra was doing their thing, basically in a room and recording together, while we were basically distributed all over the world, like Guthrie in England and Brian and myself, here in California.
Right.
So it came together basically, digitally.
That's awesome. What else do you have going on that you might want to talk about? So far, a lot. I mean, you got the new Aristocrats album coming out, going on tour. You got the Minnemann album coming out, and then going on tour. Anything else you're squeezing into the year?
Well, the thing is, we also are writing a new Aristocrats album, like with completely new songs.
Great.
So that's in the making. Actually, as we speak, I'm kind of writing. Well, not as we speak right now, but I'm writing already on new material, and so are the others. And so that's going to happen. Then the new Stein and Minnemann album is coming out. That's going to be by the end of the year as well.
Great.
We already kind of briefly talked about that. There must be something else because I have always something going on, right? Isn't it? It's like many studio productions. Obviously, I love playing, on records and doing stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much what to expect, and very happy with that environment.
That's awesome, folks. You can get the album June 3rd. That's right around the corner from the time that we are broadcasting this live. Or if you're watching the archive, I've previewed it. It's awesome. And get the album. If you're like me, I like the physical thing. I like the physical thing.
Yeah.
I like to hold it, feel it, fold it out, read it, pull it apart. I'm just so old school when it comes to that.
Oh, that's not old school. That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is Oliver Wakeman's new box set, and it's got all kinds of goodies. It's so much better than just downloading something. So
I agree.
Right? Yeah. And is there going to be are you merchandising the squeaky pig and the chicken? I couldn't ask that with a straight face.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would.
We did that on one of the tours. We actually sold, I guess, some of those and signed them, and
that's great.
And it works,
Yeah. Awesome. Marco, thanks so much for taking time to join us here as we wind down May. Hang on the line after we say goodbye. And folks, thanks so much for following what we do here on Drum Talk TV, joining Marco and myself. And again, even if you're watching the archive, go ahead and pop in some comments, questions. I'll send Marco the link to this. Maybe he and the guys will follow up and answer some questions.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you soon.
Absolutely. See you all, and thank you so much for joining us.